darkness against the back wall of the basement, the little red hen saw them come out of the sunlit yard. She panicked. She flew up, hit against something in the gloom of the crowded basement. It knocked her down, but as she fell back, she landed on the thin edge of the empty brushel bucket. She beat her wings, desperately tried to cling to the thin edge of the basement basket. The basket rocked, toppled, flipped over, and fell on top of her. The little hen disappeared. So suddenly, so completely, the flock stopped in confusion in the middle of the shadowy barn. Then, near the doorway, there was a hen quarrel. The rooster recalled to his duties, strode over the fighting hens, stepped between them, and chased them out of the barn. He marched impotently after them, marched himself out of the barn. The whole white flock obediently steamed after him out of the barn. The little hen had been forgotten as suddenly and as completely as had been the butterfly. Under the basket, the bruised, exhausted little hen sat huddled and quiet. In the dimness under the basement, her head began to nod, and then she slept fitfully. She woke with a start and slept again. When she once more woke up, it was completely dark under the basement. Dark night silent lay over the whole basement of the barn. Then in the dark barn, there was suddenly the stately stretching noise of a rat. The stretching went on. Other rats came. The night deepened. The rats became bolder, noisier. The basket suddenly jiggled on the handles as the rat leaped up in its nibble and chisel away at the ear of the dried corn it had found. Another rat came, tried to steal the corn. There was a battle above the little hen. The basket rocked wildly on its handles. A rat shrieked. The moment all the rats suddenly wrestled away, and the barn lay completely silent. After the rats were gone, there was a big noise outside. Then light ranged and swept through the wide doorway, slid towards the overturned basket. Under the basket, the little hen rose up in alarm. But then she recognized the sounds as the old rattle trap car came tumbling up the driveway. Once more, the light of the car swept across the floor, almost reached the basket, but flicked out. The big darkness fell back into place. Later, a small light came, a moving, flickering light, a lantern. It went back and forth in the barnyard beyond the white doorway, and the little red hen, listened excitedly to the man's slow footsteps going back and forth in the barnyard. But the man did not come into the barn, did not come to her. By the light of the glittering lantern, the man was reading the signs of the barnyard. He stooped, picked up a red-tailed feather, grim-faced and straightened, and looked up at the dark hen house. Well, I knew I'd just find this the moment I saw the loose slit sticking up from the potato crate, he said, harsh and loud, up to the high coop. You mauled her to death, and some dog or swamp animal came along and carried her away. Once she got out of the crate, she never had a chance. The little hen peered from under the basket at the small spot of the light from the lantern, listened excitedly to the man's loud, lone talking. The man suddenly strode past the wide doorway, his lantern swinging angrily. Through the doorway patches of light from the swinging lantern rayed out of the moment for the moment as far as the bushel basket, but that brief bit of light. The little red hen lunged from under the basket. The basket's sharp edges scraped her sore, torn comb or struggled from her under it, but she hardly noticed it. She ran after the man. Outdoors, the old lantern suddenly gutted out. Hanged if I don't get me a flashlight, the man barked irritably. The light was gone and the man was gone in the darkness. Like all the chickens, the little hen could see utterly nothing in the dark. Helpless in the dark, the little red hen had to sink down where she was in the middle of the barn, had to go listen helplessly to the man going away from the house. Later, much later, the moon came out. Moonlight slipped into the barn. For a brief moment, cool, dim light fitted across the doorway. Then it was gone as the moon slid behind a mass of clouds. In a momentary flit of moonlight, the little hen saw something big, dark, silhouetted in the wide open doorway. The little hen sat still as dead. It took long frozen moments for the black clouds to pass over the moon. Then the moonlight stood cool and grave in the doorway again. And in the moonlight in the doorway stood the dog. Across from the barn, the little hen and the big black dog looked at each other. Then the dog's bushy tail swung in such enormous friendliness. His wagging tail shook his body. With a sharp little crackle, the little hen ran to the dog.